Have you ever been so overwhelmed trying to choose a color for clip-ins? Well, then this video is for you. Hi, my name is Kat Lewis and I am here with Bellamy Hair. Did you know that they offer over 40 different shades and 6 different transitions in their clip-in extension line to help match you perfectly? And I know that this can seem a little bit daunting because there's so many options, but what we're going to do today is we're going to break down the different tones and the different transitions so you can pick your perfect match. Our first shade in our natural hair extension line is going to be Jet Black, and Jet Black is our darkest shade offering. This is going to have a cool undertone and will really match your hair if you color your hair with the darkest color available. See, it's almost got a blue-black undertone. Our next shade of clip-in extensions is our Off Black. And Off Black is going to almost be your darkest color, but still a little bit more natural. It's going to have a little bit of a brown undertone or a golden undertone. And if you look at the Off Black in comparison with the Jet Black together, you can really get an idea for the difference in tone. So if you're deciding between the two, if you color your hair to be the darkest color, Jet Black is a great option. If you naturally have dark hair and you want to match it and you think your hair is extra dark, then Off Black might be a better option for you. Our next shade that we have is Mochachino Brown. Mochachino Brown is going to be a dark brown with smaller hints of golden highlights coming throughout, which gives it a really beautiful dimensional color, but a really nice richness that will match anybody that's more of a dark brown. Our Mochachino color, in comparison to the Off Black color or shade, you can see there's definitely a level change and a little bit more warmth to the Mochachino. Our next shade that we offer in our natural clip-in extensions is going to be the dark brown color. Dark brown is a dark brown color. It will match a majority of guests that have a dark brown color to their hair. And this tone is going to have a little bit more red to it, as opposed to the Mochachino, which has a little bit more golden tones. You're going to see there's a little bit more richness to your dark brown compared to your Mochachino brown. Our next clip-in extension color we offer is Chocolate Brown. This is going to be a little bit lighter and definitely have a bit more warmth to the shade. It's made up of 2 or 3 different shades that have been blended together to achieve maximum dimension, which will help match a majority of guests. And your chocolate brown in comparison to your dark brown, you can see there's a nice jump between the dark versus the light. They do sit pretty closely in tonality. So there's a lot of richness in both of these colors, and your chocolate brown is going to be a little bit lighter. Walnut Brown clip-in extensions are a great option for somebody who's looking for a darker color with a lot of a cool undertone. These Walnut Brown shades will have cool variations with a little bit of a purple or blue underlying pigment and look really beautiful in anybody that has more of an ashy tone to their hair. So if you have a little bit of a darker color with a lot of ash to it, the Walnut Brown could be a great option for you. And your Walnut Brown in comparison to your Chocolate Brown, you can see a lot of those purple or blue hues coming from underneath. Our next clip-in color is our Chestnut Brown. And Chestnut Brown is a really beautiful, what I would consider to be a medium brown or even a dark blonde. You'll see there's a little bit of different hues coming through, but a majority of your Chestnut Brown is going to sit in a golden tone. So this isn't exactly a neutral tone and it's not a red tone. It's definitely going to have a little bit more of that golden look. Our next clip-in extension color that we have is Almond Brown. And Almond Brown is also going to be almost like a medium to a light brown, sitting almost on the fence to somebody who might have a dark blonde color. This has a little bit more warmth to it, and you might even see a little bit of a red undertone. When I place my Almond Brown next to my Chestnut Brown, you can see there's just that extra bit of richness from that Almond Brown compared to Chestnut. However, they are almost that same level. So if you can see, the hair is still the same depth, but you just have a difference in regards to your undertones being either golden or a little bit more of a red color. Our next clip-in color that we offer is our Ash Brown, and it is ash brown. It has a small amount of variation within color, but you'll notice that this is almost ashy and a little bit neutral. This color has a tendency to match a majority of guests or anybody that installs these on themselves that might have a little bit of an extra dimension to their hair. This is going to be a neutral to ashy tone, especially in comparison to the Almond Brown. And here you can really see the difference. And it's just a slight variation with a little bit more depth in the Almond Brown compared to the Ash Brown. But the Ash Brown definitely has a little bit more of those icy tones or even a little bit more neutral rather than warmth. Our next clip-in extension color that we offer is Strawberry Blonde. And Strawberry Blonde can seem kind of deceiving. You might think that you're looking for something really vibrant or something that looks like a strawberry, but this color is a very, very soft golden blonde that I think looks beautiful in anybody that has warmer tones. This can even look like a really nice highlight or accentuate some additional blonde or warmth that someone has in their hair. And just in comparison, your Strawberry Blonde compared to your Ash Brown, you'll see there's a noticeable change between your brown versus your blonde. And here you can start to really see the difference and the warmth compared to something that would be considered ash versus something that we would consider to be warmth. Our next blonde clip-in extension color that we have in our naturals is our Dirty Blonde. And Dirty Blonde is a beautiful color that almost sits in a neutral category. It doesn't have too much warmth. It doesn't have a lot of overtoned violet tones. It really sits beautifully in a neutral highlighted look. Your Dirty Blonde in comparison to your Strawberry Blonde, you can start to see the difference in your underlying pigment. So when you look at the Strawberry Blonde here on the left versus your Dirty Blonde on the right, you can see a little bit more warmth, where your Dirty Blonde is a little bit more neutral and maybe has just a touch of golden colors as well. Our next clip-in shade is Butter Blonde, and Butter Blonde sits in the natural category. However, here you will see that your Butter Blonde has quite a bit of highlighted tones. So you're going to see some light, and you're also going to see a little bit of dark highlights and low lights in there as well. This is going to be one of the colors in your natural line that has the most dimension to it. And it has a little bit of hues of even your Dirty Blonde in there. So you can see a little bit of that Dirty Blonde shade and reminiscences of it in the Butter Blonde color as well. Our next color in our clip-in hair extensions and our natural colors is going to be our Beach Blonde. And this is where we start to really see more of those platinum blonde shades. Now, platinum blonde doesn't always mean that they're going to be extra icy and extra cool. This platinum or ultralight shade is a little bit more of a natural color. You can see it still has a little bit of a golden hue to it, and I think really matches somebody who has highlighted their hair. Maybe they started off closer to maybe a mousy brown or a dishwater blonde, and they've highlighted their hair, this is going to be a great color to be able to match to. Our next clip-in color, sitting with our ultralight clip-ins, is going to be our ash blonde. And ash blonde here you can see is a little less golden and has a little bit of a platinum or a violet hue in comparison to your beach blonde. The beach blonde on the left you can see has just a touch of gold to it, where your ash blonde is starting to get a little bit more of those purple or violet hues as an undertone. And our final clip-in color in our natural category, that's for our ultra light colors, is going to be your platinum shade. And your platinum shade here, you can absolutely see a lot of those purple or blue undertones. I think this is really perfect for somebody who does a bleach and tone directly on their scalp. They use a toner on their hair. I think this is going to be your identical match. And your platinum compared to your ash blonde, here you can see a huge difference with the tonality. The level is going to be the same, just one holds more of those ultraviolet or ultra blue hues compared to your ash blonde. And that will round out all of our natural colors. Our next shade option within Bellami Clip-in extensions that we're going to go over is your marble blends. And your marble blended colors are made up of 2 or 3 shades, and you'll see a lot of additional dimension, but not too heavy of a contrast. So a really great person to wear these is somebody who gets a very even highlight, or even myself. I am the perfect candidate for a marble blended color. Our first shade is going to be our bronzed marble caramel blend. This is made up of 2 to 3 different shades, and you'll notice that it's a little bit deeper in the top area and transitions down to a lighter marble blend on the ends. And this is because it's made up of a couple of transitional balayage tones to give it an illusion of being a little bit darker at the root and a little bit lighter on the ends. This is going to be a great option for somebody who has a medium brown hair and maybe does do a soft highlight but likes to keep a little bit of depth at their base. This is going to be a great option. Our next color within the marble blend line is going to be caramel marble blend. Now your caramel marble blend is made up of 3 different colors, starting all the way down at your ash brown and coming all the way up to your dirty blonde color. You'll see a lot of dimension, but it's also blended really beautifully and even. And the difference between your caramel blend and your bronzed caramel marble is it's a little bit deeper and a little bit ashier, with the color being consistent from top to bottom, whereas your bronzed caramel marble blend has that extra pop just on the ends. Our next clip-in extension color is going to be your ash blonde marble blend. And your ash blonde marble blend is going to be an even amount of dimension with the use of 3 different shades all combined together. And it almost sits, the way that I think of it, as caramel marble blends counterpart. One has a little bit more warmth and the other one is a little bit ashier. So your ash blonde marble blend is going to be a little bit cooler with blue or purple undertones compared to a little bit more warmth from your caramel marble blend. Your marble blended colors are a fantastic way to add additional dimension without looking stripy or feeling like you have too much contrast. A really great option for somebody that likes blended highlighted looks. Bellami's rooted shade offerings are a fantastic option for anybody that has more of a lived-in color. If you're worried that when the wind blows, you might see a clip-in extension all the way to the top of your scalp, and you want something that has a little bit of depth, your rooted tones are going to be perfect. Our first rooted tone is going to be your off-black Almond Brown. And as you can see, this rooted shade is made up of two different colors. It's going to be your off black at the top and then your almond brown at the bottom. The root color is going to be about 2.5 to 3 inches long with a quick transition into the almond brown. Our next clip-in color from our rooted shades is going to be your ash brown to honey blonde. When you look at this shade, again, it's going to be a quick transition from your ash brown at about 2.5 to 3 inches down into your honey blonde color on the ends. And something that you'll notice throughout the entire line of Bellami colors is even with your different transitions and variations, the changes for the colors are all based off of your natural shade range. So when you're choosing a color, you can always refer back to some of the colors that you've seen in the natural category, and you'll be able to base them and determine what the colors look like for your different variations. This is going to be your ash brown into your honey blonde, and you'll see there's a little bit of extra dimension within your blondes throughout the ends with your ash brown as your root. And if I look at my rooted honey next to my rooted almond clip-in extensions, you can see there's a huge contrast between the two colors. Your almond brown is definitely going to be for your darker shades, maybe somebody who's got a darker tone and they're looking for maybe a medium brown highlight. And your honey blonde is going to be a really great option for somebody with a deeper root, maybe a natural deeper root, and some beautiful highlights throughout their hair. Our next rooted clip-in color that we offer is going to be cool brown to butter blonde. Now this shade is going to have a root almost like your ash brown, but definitely with a cooler tone to it. So not quite as warm, but sitting almost in an ashy or maybe a neutral family. You've got some really beautiful blonde dimension throughout your ends. And when I place my cool brown and my butter blonde next to my honey, you can see there's a very, very minimal amount of difference between the blondes. There's a lot of variation. There's a little bit of extra dimension to each one, but they're very similar. The biggest difference will be the rooted color at the very top. You're going to have a little bit more warmth with your honey rooted tone versus your cool brown into your butter blonde. And one of our lightest colors in our rooted clip-in line is going to be your walnut brown to your ash blonde. This is going to have one of your most contrasting rooted colors, having your walnut brown at the top with a quick transition at about 2.5 to 3 inches into your ash blonde. And here you can see your ash blonde definitely has that cooler look with your underlying pigments of your violet as well as your blue. And to give you a really good comparison between the rooted cool brown and butter blonde, right next to your ash blonde with your root of your walnut, here you can see. And the way I might think of these is if you do have cooler hair, or you do use a toner or a purple shampoo, you might veer a little bit closer to your ash blonde color. Versus if you do like to have a little bit more of a natural color, maybe a little bit of even warmth, you might go a little closer towards your butter blonde option. Your next rooted clip-in options are going to be a little bit different, and the reason is because there's a little bit more variation in these compared to your maybe walnut to ash blonde. For example, this is going to be your clip-in color for your vanilla latte. And here you're going to see an exponential amount of higher contrast throughout your ends, but still a beautiful root. So this is called your vanilla latte, and it's going to have almost like an ash brown root along with some ash blonde highlights, which is going to give it a little bit more of that high contrast highlighted effect if you're looking for extra dimension in your hair. So whether you're looking at a darker option for your rooted tones or even something on the platinum side with your ash blonde, we have got an option for you. Bellami clip-ins are offered in highlighted shades as well. And when we think of highlights, what we're looking at is a high contrast and heavy dimension. So instead of what you might compare to maybe a marble blend where you have 2 or 3 colors that are consistently blended throughout your clip-in, your highlighted clip-ins, you will see more of a high-low effect, almost like piano keys going through your clip-in. And a perfect example is going to be your Ash Bronde Highlight. Now your Ash Bronde Highlight, here you can see a heavy contrast between 3 colors, ranging all the way up to your Ash Blonde and all the way down to your Chestnut Brown. And although it might seem slightly intimidating, especially in the top area of the clip-in, you'll notice that it transitions down into some beautiful dimension that looks so beautiful in anybody's hair that does like that heavy contrast, that heavy dimension, and would like it to pop. Our next shade in our highlighted category is going to be Honeycomb Highlight. And here you can see, as opposed to your Ash Bronde Highlight, which was a little bit more contrasting and dimensional, this is definitely going to be a little bit lighter, and your low lights are going to have a little bit more of a lighter appearance, but still gives some wonderful dimension. When we place our Ash Bronde and our Honeycomb right next to each other, here you can see the variation. One is going to be just a little bit lighter and just a little bit warmer compared to a little bit of extra depth and definitely an ashier tone here on the left with our Ash Bronde. I almost think of these as being similar counterparts. If you have a nice highlighted effect throughout your hair, but you sit on an ashier or a cooler side, you usually tone your hair or add a lot of purple shampoo in between getting colored in salon, then your Ash Bronde might be the perfect color for you. If you like that extra warmth in your hair and you're used to seeing that come through after you leave the salon for a few weeks, then your Honeycomb could also be an amazing option. Your Vanilla Latte in the highlighted category is a very special color. And the reason is because this is almost a blend between your rooted and your highlighted colors. Now, as you've already seen when we showed you the Honeycomb and the Ash Bronde, the highlights go all the way to the root. When we're working with our Vanilla Latte, what you're going to see is some beautiful contrast of your highs and lows of your Ash Brown along with your Ash Blonde going all the way to your ends, but there's a beautiful root that goes along with this specific shade. So instead of it looking like a contrasting color all the way up to the root, you're going to have a soft, gentle root that transitions down into some really nice neutral highlights. And our final option that we have in our highlighted category for Bellami clip-ins is going to be our Pearl Blonde Highlight. And your Pearl Blonde Highlight is a very special color, just like Vanilla Latte, because while it still has that high contrast and dimension flowing through towards the ends, with your deeper Ash Brown or your cool Ash Brown color alongside your Ash Blonde, you will also have a root, so that contrast doesn't come all the way up to the top of the clip-in, which can seem a little bit stripy and a little bit overwhelming sometimes. This will give you a beautiful soft transition from your base or your root all the way down into your dimensional ends. So when I look at my Vanilla Latte and I look at my Pearl Blonde Highlight side by side, here you can see one is almost the other's counterpart. Your Vanilla Latte is going to sit in a warmer category or maybe neutral, whereas your Pearl Blonde Highlight is your purple and violet tones. If you're looking for an ashy, dimensional tone with a natural looking ashy root, Pearl Highlight is going to be perfect. Your Bellami Balayage category is a fantastic option for a truly lived-in style. If you're looking for clip-ins that really have a deeper base and look nice and bright and full on the ends, this category is for you. Our first shade that we offer is going to be your dark brown to chestnut brown. And when you look at your balayage, and this is going to be the same exact transition for all of the balayage category. They are going to be made up of two different colors. What I would think of is a dark and a light. And when I look at the actual clip-ins themselves, I think of them broken up into ratios of 3. So you'll have a third at the top, a midsection, and then your third on the ends. Your two colors in your balayage shade, you will notice your top area of your clip-ins, and that top third is going to be the darker color. Your mid-shaft color is going to be a 50-50 blend between the two dark and light shades, and the final third on the ends is going to be the lighter color. So here on your dark brown to chestnut brown, this is a perfect example of a really soft and subtle transition between your dark brown into the chestnut brown. It's nice and rich and very golden. There's warmth, but it's not red. Our next shade in our balayage category is going to be dark brown to dirty blonde. So this variation and transition is going to be a little bit more predominant, but still a little bit softer and subtle in the mid-shaft area. So you've got your dark brown, which is going to be beautiful and rich right at the top. You're going to have a 50-50 blend of your dirty blonde and dark brown in the mid-shaft area with a wonderful transition into those brighter pops just on the ends of the dirty blonde. And to get an idea of how blonde that dirty blonde is, I'm going to bring back our dark brown and our chestnut brown so you can see. The transitions are the same, but you'll notice that they seem a little bit more predominant with the dirty blonde next to the dark brown as opposed to the chestnut brown into the dark brown. Our next shade of clip-ins for our balayage is going to be the Mochachino Brown into dirty blonde. The difference that you'll notice between your mochaccino to dirty blonde as opposed to your dark brown to dirty blonde is going to be definitely your mid-shaft and the top area of your clip-ins. Here you're going to notice a little bit more of a gold hue or accent as opposed to the richness of a dark brown. And your mid-shaft area, it is still pretty predominant where you'll see that transition all the way into your soft ends. And we'll bring back our dark brown to dirty blonde so you can see the difference really between the areas that are going to be the top of your balayage and then also into the transition between the two colors. Your ends will be identical. So if you have a richer and maybe a little bit of a deeper hair, but you're looking for a pop of color, I would definitely go with the dark brown into the dirty blonde. If your hair is just a little bit lighter, maybe even just a golden hue as opposed to a little bit deeper and richer, I'll go with the Mochachino Brown with my dirty blonde on the ends. Our next shade of clip-in for our balayage category is going to be cool brown into dirty blonde. When we look at our cool brown into our dirty blonde clip-ins, you'll notice that it's a little bit lighter at the top area. I would say almost like a medium brown, with your middle transition area being very soft, not very much contrast, and down into your beautiful dirty blonde on the ends. So the difference between your mochaccino into dirty blonde compared to your cool brown into your dirty blonde, you'll notice a little bit more contrast in your midsection here because your cool brown is a little bit lighter, so it doesn't pop and create as much contrast right in the middle. It's going to be a little bit softer from the top to the bottom. Our next clip-in balayage shade that we offer is Golden Hour Blonde. And Golden Hour Blonde, you'll notice, has a really soft transition from that deeper root into your beautiful dimensional ends. You'll see that deep root right at the base, which is going to sit very close to maybe like an ash brown. And as you make your way towards the mid-shaft and the ends, you'll notice that the transition is extremely soft because you're working with such a light shade right at your top root area. When I lay this golden hour right next to our cool brown, you can see the transition is very soft in comparison. And I will say, just from my personal experience, golden hour is a color that I lean on to quite a bit, whether somebody has neutral colors or warm colors going throughout their hair, because it's got such a complementary root tone and the transition is so soft in the mid-shaft area. I have a tendency to use this quite a bit on my clients that are blonde. Our next balayage clip-in color that we offer is ash brown to ash blonde balayage. And here you can see there's a lot of contrast between your root versus your ends, with a beautiful dimensional tone to help tie the two together right in the mid-shaft area. So here that depth is going to be a little bit more predominant compared to what we were looking at previously, which is golden hour. So you'll see it's just a little bit more of a deeper transition from your first section into your mid shaft compared to golden hour. Your ash brown to ash blonde is a fantastic option for somebody who has maybe like a medium colored hair and highlights it and is really looking for an extra pop of color on their ends, looking for something a little more solid and not looking for a full color commitment of lifting their natural hair. You're going to achieve some really beautiful soft transition with your ash brown to ash blonde. Our final balayage color that we offer within the balayage category is going to be white mocha balayage. And your white mocha balayage is such a wonderful balayage tone because this is going to sit on the cooler side. When I look at this base tone, you're looking at something that's definitely going to be a deeper, ashier brown. Your mid-shaft tone is very soft and very blended. It's not a high contrast in the midsection, followed into this white platinum color on your ends. And when I look at my white mocha balayage compared to my ash brown and ash blonde, these two colors to me are almost counterparts. One will sit more on the neutral to warm side, while the white mocha is so much cooler and it really becomes apparent when you place the two right next to each other. So naturally, if you have an ashier or deeper color and are looking for a whiter, more platinum pop on the ends, white mocha is the perfect option. And that will round out our balayage category for our clip-in extensions. Bellami's Ombre category is made up of 3 different shades and is very unique in a sense that it can give you depth as well as that bit of brightness on your ends that you might be looking for. Our first ombre clip-in color that we offer is going to be the dark brown to ash brown. And here with this specific color, you can really get an idea for the transition and gradient that all of your Bellami ombre colors reflect, which is going to be basically 2 different colors, a dark and a light. And at about mid-shaft is where you'll see the quick transition from your darker color into the light. Your dark brown is going to be your beautiful, rich dark brown coming in to your ash brown gradient. Our next ombre clip-in shade is our warm brown honey blonde ombre. And here you can see we've got that beautiful warm brown right in that top area and our beautiful, soft, warm honey blonde just on the ends. And you'll notice that the transition in the mid-shaft area, because you're working with such a dark shade down to such a light shade on your ends, we've added a small grace period of transition in the middle that's going to look a little like the balayage, but does keep this hair from looking too overly ombre right in the middle area and having too stark of a line. Our final ombre shade that we offer with our Bellami clip-ins is going to be our ash blonde strawberry blonde ombre. And this shade, surprisingly enough, is what I use in my hair when I wear clip-ins as well. I'll mix a couple of colors, but this is what I like as my base for my depth, because the base of the clip-in extensions is such a beautiful tone. It's like a deep, almost ashy, but very neutral brown. The transition is not too heavy and stark, and the strawberry blonde on the ends adds a little bit of warmth, but isn't red. It's almost a very natural looking dimensional blonde that really brings out such a wonderful contrast between the depth of the base and then that extra pop on your ends. And if we look at this in comparison to our previous color, you can see that extra bit of ashy tone and depth on our ash blonde into the strawberry blonde, and your ends are going to be nice and soft and subtle. Your Bellamy Ombre shades are a fantastic option if you're looking for that extra bit of depth with that pop of color on the ends. You're going to be able to achieve it with one of these 3 colors. If you are looking for a deep, rich, or even a vibrant red tone, our Bellamy clip-in extensions with our red category are going to be amazing for you. Our first clip-in color that we offer within our red category is going to be Mulberry Wine. Now, your Mulberry Wine absolutely has red and almost a raspberry undertone. It's going to sit a little bit deeper, almost near like a dark brown with a lot of vibrancy and a lot of red. It's going to be the same color from top to bottom without any types of transitions. Our next red shade in our clip-in category is going to be our Cinnamon Mocha. And your Cinnamon Mocha is going to be slightly lighter than your Mulberry Wine. And you'll notice that it does have a vibrancy, but also mixed with your red undertones, there's a very small amount of gold as well. So if your hair kind of sits in between with a little bit of red and a little bit of gold, maybe in that medium brown or medium level area on this level spectrum, this is going to be an amazing option. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring back our Mulberry Wine so you can see the difference between Cinnamon Mocha and Mulberry Wine together. Your Mulberry Wine, here you can see that vibrancy, almost like that deeper raspberry look, a lot of red in your Mulberry Wine. And your Cinnamon Mocha really adds that extra bit of vibrancy. It's just a little bit lighter and has little hues of copper and gold. Our next red clip-in shade is Spiced Crimson, and your Spiced Crimson has plenty of dimension in it, not necessarily heavy contrast in a highlighted category, but it absolutely will pick up some beautiful highs and lows and give a lot of variation to this color. There's a lot of copper and just a little bit of a red or a violet base. This color I think of really more so in the copper or golden category. And I'm going to look and compare the 2 shades together. And here you can see there's a lot more red in that Spiced Crimson compared to the Cinnamon Mocha. Our final red shade in our Bellamy clip-in line is going to be Strawberry Dream. And with Strawberry Dream, you will see so much beautiful dimension and copper colors. There's very minimal heavy-duty red or violet tones. It's not necessarily a rich color, but it's absolutely a lighter and more vibrant tone. This color is fantastic for anybody that really likes that extra bit of vibrancy and, again, a little bit of additional dimension. And I'm going to lay this color right next to our Spiced Crimson, and here you can see the offset in color, where you'll see a little bit more red as opposed to copper, and with your Strawberry Dream, you've got a lot more of that copper and a minimal and almost no red. Now, whether one of our red shades is going to match you perfectly or you just want to use them for a couple of pops of color here and there, one of these are going to be amazing. So there you have it, our full Bellami clip-in collection. Whether you're a jet black or a vibrant red, we have something for you. For more information or to purchase your set of clip-ins, go to bellamihair.com and like and subscribe for more.